Hello, backpackers. This is Juan from One Backpacks, and I'm here today to talk about some of the things I had planned for 2025 in terms of my backpacking and outdoor pursuits. I've got some things written down here so I don't forget the months that I'm going to do things and what I'm going to do because it's quite a list. It's quite a list I've planned out. And so I'm just going to dive right into it. First off, in April, I'm probably going to be doing an overlanding trip, which is a little unusual. I'll be doing that in north central PA, be doing that with my kids who are into overlanding and backpacking and hiking and camping and all those things. And so I will do a video on the overlanding. I have some gear, overlanding gear, but my kids are into it. And so they'll be supplementing anything that dad doesn't have. And so that should be pretty awesome. And I will do a video. We're going to be camping. We're going to be fly fishing in remote creeks of north central PA for brook trout, native brook trout, and probably maybe do a couple backpacking videos while I'm out there and some gear videos and so forth. So that's the number one thing on my list in April. Second thing on my list is backpacking. That's the Allegheny 100. It's a 50-hour challenge to complete 100 miles of the Allegheny Trail. And I've attempted that the last 2 years. I came up short the first year with an injury. I was about 2 hours ahead of pace to complete the 100 miles in 50 hours. And then so that year, because of my injury, I dropped out. That was the year I was also going to be doing in 4 weeks the Tahoe Rim Trail, which I completed in 9 days, 170 miles in 9 days. And so I dropped out because I wanted to protect my foot and ankle because I had an ongoing injury. The second year, which was last year, I attempted it. I actually fell behind on pace. I was actually the completely opposite, 2 hours behind schedule. This year, I hit the 50-mile mark. I knew I couldn't make up that 50 hours. I just wasn't, I couldn't make up that 2 hours. I just wasn't feeling it. And so I was frustrated and I just dropped out and ended my hike at 50 miles. And I probably could have done it, but man, I just wasn't into it. Again, because I was about 4 weeks out from doing a big hike out west. And I always have to think in that one to protect my feet, protect my legs, protect my joints and things like that. I always kind of balance that out in the A100. This year, I might just go for broke and say, hey, if I break my body, I just want to finish anyway. But we'll see. We'll see. So that's the Allegheny 100. That is a fundraiser for the Allegheny Trail, and so that's always fun to do that. The big hike that I have, Allegheny 100 will be in June. July, the big traveling backpacking trip I have planned is the Uinta Highline Trail, which is about 103 miles through the Uinta Highline and through the Uintas. It is a pretty high altitude endeavor, and I've been at altitudes of 12,000, 13,000, and up to 14,500 feet. So I can function at that 10,000 plus range pretty well. I did attempt the Uinta Highline last year, and on the second day I was about 28 miles into it. I'd done like a 20 plus mile day on the second day, feeling really strong. I was in at camp, and on my inReach, the company that dropped me off and was to pick me up at the end of the trail, because it's like a single straight line. It's not a loop or anything like that. They were going to pick me up at the end. They dropped me off in the beginning. They messaged me on my inReach and said, hey, the pass about 2 days ahead of you is snowy and you cannot get through unless you have micro spikes and an ice axe, was the thought, in the reports that they were getting from folks that had been back there. And so with that information, and being that I was backpacking alone by myself, I really had to weigh that. And it was a tough decision. I labored over it in my tent. I thought about, well, what if I hike up to the pass and I check it out, then maybe I can backtrack. I was going through all kinds of motions, back and forth, not emotions, but motions, like of trying to figure this out, and ended up in corresponding back and forth with the company. Is I really couldn't get that close and still find a convenient way to get out of the mountains, like an alternate route to kind of bail out that close to the pass. And so after looking at maps, after going back and forth on maps with them, I decided that I had a exit route about another half a day ahead of me, which seemed to be the last exit route that was possible for the company to pick me up. And so I ended up doing that. So that was a bit of a bummer. I did have my micro spikes with me. I did not bring my ice axe. It was actually literally being stored back at the hotel because I didn't think I would need it. So big oversight, big mistake on my part. I didn't want to attempt it by myself. Maybe if I had been with somebody else, I might have done it anyway. But at any rate, I did it. So this year, I plan to go back to Highline. I'm hoping that there's not a huge snow year again this year. That was even in July when I did that, and there was, apparently some snow in the one high pass, and so I ended up, not finishing. But anyway, hopefully this year is going to be different. So I'm beginning the planning stages of that. Luckily, I've been there. I know the routes. I know, the mapping. I've got everything down. I just have to execute this year and make sure if there is snow, I'm going to bring my ice axe no matter what. I'm going to carry that extra 16 ounces. So that's one of the other long distance hikes I have planned. That's my bigger trip. I'm going to do the Crucible hike in September. That is a 70-mile through hike, complete through hike of the Laurel Highlands Trail. And we start at one end and we end at Ohiopyle. And so I've completed that last year. No, not last year. The year before, I completed that Crucible hike. That is a fundraiser for the Veterans Leadership Program in Western Pennsylvania. They do some incredible work with veterans in terms of housing, different types of treatment, rehabilitation, all types of things. I actually, 2 years ago when I finished it, we do the 70 miles in 3 days. I think it's 24 miles the first day, 28 miles the second day, and we clean up the rest on the third day. I think it's around 19 miles, if I'm not mistaken. So we do that in 3 days of hiking and backpacking. And I got the backpack, not last year, but the year before, with some folks that work for the Veterans Leadership Program. And it was incredible what they do for the veterans. And many of them are veterans themselves. And that's why they've committed themselves to this effort. And so it's always great to do this fundraiser. So watch for that on my channel. I'll be talking about it. I'll be participating in it. I couldn't do it last year because of my work schedule, but I've managed my work schedule this year. I've got it kind of blocked out. And so I'm really excited to be back into that fundraiser and helping this incredible cause for our veterans. So those are the big trips I have planned that take more planning. And then the other things that I'm going to be doing in 2025 really is a lot of local hikes in Pennsylvania. I'm lucky I live kind of at the edge of the northern part of Pennsylvania. And so I have easy access up into some more remote areas. So some of the places I'm looking at, most definitely the Black Forest Trail at some point in time. One of these months, probably late winter, maybe next month, I'll be doing that. And then the Allegheny Front Trail, I really enjoy that trail. I've done it before. I'd like to do that again. And then obviously there's some odds and ends trails that I haven't done yet in Pennsylvania that are, through hike worthy. They might be, 50 miles, 100 miles, something like that. I could do them just in a handful of days. And so I might, consider some other trails in Pennsylvania. So those are my plans for 2025. I hope that you find them interesting. If you have any questions about any of those trails, any of the planning, go ahead and put those comments below. I would be happy to make another video about something you're really interested in, about some aspect of the trails, in Pennsylvania that I've done. I don't typically make a lot of videos about those trails. I typically do a lot of videos about my longer trips because it requires a lot more planning. And I find they're just a little bit more interesting maybe. I don't know. So anyway, leave some comments below if you want to hear something, see something, you want to learn something. I'm happy to share information with you. So until next time, backpackers, get out there, do some backpacking, do some hiking. Stop watching YouTube videos, unless they're mine, and then watch them all from start to finish.